Hello, I hope everyone are back. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all safe and doing well. I'm Praveen, onboarding consultant of Zoho People, and I'm here to host a session on timesheet management today. So, before we get started, please make use of the question tab to post your queries and chat window for any other concern. So, our team of experts could assist you accordingly. And I trust the previous session on leave and attendance management was informative. And now I'll be walking you through detailed functionalities and operations of timesheet module. So let's get started. So first, we are going to discuss on the agenda for the day. So introduction, where we are going to talk about the primal attributes of TimeTracker, and followed by advanced settings, which will help us to restrict the access which is given to the users, reporting manager, project manager, admin, etc. And then automation, which will help us to automate our day-to-day activities which we perform in timesheet module. And then we're going to quickly jump into integration. So we have a lot of other application integrated with Zoho People for managing timesheet, which we will discuss in detail. And then dashboard and reports, which is going to be one unified platform where you can fetch reports on various jobs, projects, and clients, and also you can extract the data in a click of a button. So let's get started. So these are all the primal attributes of TimeTracker: clients, projects, and job. And then we have time blocks and timesheet. So the major part is we need to have client, projects, and job, which is mandatory. And without that, we cannot generate a time log and a timesheet. So the very use case of this particular module is you can assign job for employees, and you can track the number of hours which they work, and you can pay them accordingly. So when you pay, you can define the rate user specific or a job specific or a project specific. And also, since we are in a lockdown state due to the outbreak, this module will help the management or the reporting manager to track how their reportees or the employees are spending their work hours from their home. So I'm moving into the product page. So here I have timesheet, and then I click on projects and job. So here we have those three things: client, projects, and job. So the way to create client, we can click on add. And for example, I'm going to create a client as client inspire. And then currency, I can choose the currency whichever I want. And then billing method, which I will explain you in detail when we work on job and project creation. So right now I'll just leave it empty. And then followed by we have other information which is not mandatory. And if you'd like to fill those information, you can fill and submit. So this is one way of adding a client. And imagine you need to add like 50 clients in one single shot. So that would be a tedious process for you to click on add client now and then. So to avoid that burden, we have given an option to import. So you can click on this ellipsis icon at very top right and click on import. And we have also given a sample download template. So you can prepare the data in Excel where you can import the same. So once a client is created, we have to create a project. So here, the project and client needs to be associated together. So I'm going to click on add project. and say, for example, the project name is Zoho Inspire. And I'm going to choose a client, which is Inspire. And project cost, if required, we can update the same. However, it is optional. And project manager, which is a mandatory thing. So every project should have a project manager because we need one person to head this project. And once project manager is chosen, it is going to be a lookup. So all of your active employees will get listed here. So you can pick anyone as per your business policy. And then we have project users, where I'm going to select the user who are going to work on this particular project. So say, for example, I'll just choose 5 users. So once I chose the project user, I can also define their rate. So if I click on this icon, here I can define their rate. So when I say rate is going to be rate per hour. So if they work 1 hour in this project, how much money I'm gonna pay. So let's take an example, like I'm giving $100 or like 100 USD. So now I have updated the rate and I click on submit. So now we have created a client. At the same time, we have also created a project and both are synced to each other. Now the third interesting part is we have to create a job. So here one client has one project and now I'm going to associate multiple jobs. So I'm going to click on add job. Say, for example, one job is development and I can choose the project. And I'm going to define the start and end date. So we are going to give 25 days for employees to complete this particular job. And once I chosen this particular project, this assignee filter will fetch the user who are already had it in the project. So I'm going to choose everybody. And if needed, I can define the rate like $50. At the same time, I can define the hours which they're supposed to work. So imagine I make 10 hours. So 6 people are there in a project and associated to a job. So it shows 60 hours. So these employees supposed to work 60 hours to complete this particular job, and everyone should work 10 hours. So 10 into 6, we get 60. And then I can define whether this job is billable or not. And I'm going to make this billable. And work item is nothing but a description. So what job I'm going to do, like what kind of description, that I can define it here. And if I leave it empty, that is going to be an open text box where employee can have a description on the job which they are going to work. And then we have rate per hour. Imagine I'm going to define this as $200. So the difference here is this rate per hour is going to be job specific. So all the people, those who are working in this job, can go with $200, or else you can use this particular option where you can assign the rate differently for each and everybody. So for this person, I can give $150. This person I can give 50, and this person I can give like 500. So I can define it user specific. I click on submit. And now I'll create another job, something called designing. I'm choosing the same project. Start date and end date remains the same. And I'm going to choose the same employees. And I define the work hours as 5 hours now. And the rate, say for example, 100. So one job is consolidated of 60 hours, another job is going to be 30 hours. And I'm going to make this billable and I click on submit. So if you have 1 or 2 jobs associated to a project, you can simply click on add job and you can do it. And if you have multiple jobs, then again, it's a tedious process. So we have an option to import it. So you can prepare an Excel file and you can import the job in one single shot. And if you have multiple jobs created here, as you can see, and if you want to assign users, it is not necessary for you to click on edit and then add them here one by one. So we also have a shortcut where I can simply pick the job and I can click on assign user, and I can assign the employee in that particular job. So I can assign one, or I can assign even multiple. So now we have created client, project, and job, and these three are interlinked to each other. So now I'm going back to the user login, because once the job is assigned, user has to submit a time log if he works on that particular job. So as a user or as an employee, I'm clicking on timesheet module, and I can submit time logs in two ways. One is I can use the timer, which you can see at top right, the green button, or I can submit a time log manually. And also we can define this, what method they can use, which we will discuss in detail when we talk about settings and automation. So here I'm going to choose the product, and once I chose the project, I can see the job which is associated. So say for example, I'm going to choose development, and I can enter any description like what work I'm going to do. Then you can see billable is freezed since we chose billable in that particular job. If we chosen as non-billable, then it would be non-billable. Then once I click on this timer, the timer will start run so that I can work on that particular job. And it is not possible for me to work on two different jobs at the same time, so that I need to stop this particular timer, and then I need to again choose another job to work on to submit a time log. So now I'll just stop this. So this is one method of submitting a timesheet. The other method, I can simply click on log time. Here I can choose the project, and I can choose the job and work item. If required, I can give it, and description also remains the same. And then hours, I can straight away enter the number of hours which I work. So as you can see, I entered 5 hours, and I'm going to click on save. So let me edit this timer option also. So you can see in total, I have 9 hours 59 minutes. So I have spent 5 hours in one particular job. So once a time log is being created by me, which indicates that I worked on two different projects on this particular time using the timer, or this particular number of hours using the log time. So now it's time for me to submit a timesheet. Only then my reporting manager or a supervisor, or maybe like the project manager, will come to know that this employee has worked so and so hours. So to do that, we have to first configure an approval process. Only then the reporting manager or the concern approver will have an access to view your information, and they can take an action like approve or reject. So to do so, we have to click on settings and go to approval settings and click on add approval. And here I have an option of configure approval. So if I leave it as reporting to single level, which means imagine I an employee and I reported to John. So whenever I submit a timesheet, John will be the one and only person who is going to approve or reject my request. And imagine John is reported to David, and I want these two people to approve my timesheet. Then I can choose reporting to two level. This refers to my direct manager and my manager's manager. And most of the companies will always prefer the project manager to approve or reject the request. So we also have an option to choose the project manager as an approver. So here I can select project manager. So every project will have a project manager. So whenever we submit a time log, that project manager can take an action. So if I click on this plus sign, we have a lot of options available where you can define the approvers as per your requirement. And then if I scroll down, I can also configure the email. So the email that goes to the approver is completely customizable. As you can see, we have an option of edit template. So here you can customize this template, like I have customized one. So I already created an approval that goes to the direct reporting manager, as you can see here, and I click on save. So now I go to back to the user login. So I can submit timesheet two ways. One is from this particular page, you can see today I worked on two different jobs, so on so time. At bottom right, you can see not submitted, which means that I have worked, but timesheet is not submitted. So I can simply click on this button, so a timesheet will get generated in a fraction of second. Or the other way, I can click on timesheet and I can click on create timesheet. Here I can choose all information. But I always recommend my customers to go with this option because you can simply click on this particular button where the timesheet will get generated. So once I click, you can see the project name Zoho Inspire and the client name and the job I worked, and you can see like May 6th and the work item billable. So before we do that, I also show one more information. So period, it is chosen as today. Imagine I'm going to choose this week because moreover, we do not have an habit of submitting timesheet on daily basis because we employees, we have a protocol that normally we will submit time log on daily basis because we supposed to work like 6 hours or 8 hours as per the law. And by end of every week, maybe like Friday, we will be submitting the timesheet. So I can choose this week and I can submit a timesheet in one single go. So once I choose this week, you can see on May 8th, I have also applied annual leave, and then we also have a bank holiday. So even the leave and holiday will be fetched in the timesheet. So that will be easy for the approver to track why the time log is being missing on a particular day. So if May 8th, if there is no time log, it doesn't mean that employee haven't worked. It could be a leave or it could be a holiday. In both the cases, if you do not have this leave or holiday entry, then employee doesn't work on that particular day. So here you can see the total billable hours is 9 and then rate per hour is 100. So once I click on send for approval, it goes for an approval to my manager. So I go to the manager login. So here you can see the moment I click on submit, I'll be getting an email notification. At the same time, I will get this feed notification in web. And also if you have a mobile app, you'll get a push notification in mobile. So you can approve in various method, even from web or from your mobile. So once I click on this request, so here I can see this employee, Alice, has worked on this particular timesheet between 3rd May and 9th May, and the billable hours is this much, and non-billable hours nothing, and total hours worked is 959. And if I click on that year hyperlink, it will redirect me to the entire timesheet. So I can cross-check all the information and I can take an action of approve. So while I'm approving, you can see the rate per hour. So the rate defined for this employee is for 1 hour, we have defined $100. So he has worked for almost 10 hours. So it is computed as $1,000. So and I'm going to approve here. So once this is approved, I'm getting back to the user login. And once I refreshed, you can see the status would have been updated to approved with a green thumbs up. So now the flow is we have a client, followed by we have a project, and then we have a job, and employees are coming to the work and they are submitting the time log, maybe like end of the day or end of the week, they are submitting a timesheet. And once the timesheet is approved, you can pay for the employee. So when we say pay for the employee, we can define their rate. And the same concept we are going to use for billing a client. That is what we call it as billing method. So to explain the billing method, let me take back you to the client settings. And once I click on add client, here we have 4 billing method: hourly job rate, hourly user rate, and hourly user rate job an hourly user rate project. So if I go with the first option, hourly job rate, it indicates job. So I'm going to job form and I click on add. So here you can see rate per hour. Say for example, if I define $100 here, then it is going to be $100 for all the employees who are going to work on this particular job. So it is going to be one common rate irrespective of users, those who are working here. And based upon this, we can generate a bill for the client. And second method is hourly user rate. So hourly user rate is we can define the rate user specific, which is not dependent to a project or not dependent to a job. So if I go to settings, I have payroll setting. I can click on add employee rate. Here I can choose an employee and I can define the rate. So rate per hour is $150 and OT hours maybe like 200, and extra OT hours is 250. So OT is nothing but overtime. So when I define user rate, when I pick the user rate, it will not adhere to any job rate or any project rate. It will be independent and it will generate a bill for the client. This is second method. And third method, we have hourly user rate job. So it clearly indicates that hourly user specific rate on a particular job. So I'm getting into the job form again. And here we have the user. And once I select like randomly 3 user, I have an option to define their rate. So say for example, 100, 150. So the bill will get generated based upon this amount. So I can have a common job rate, or I can have different rate for different employee in a particular job, or I can have a user rate that is no way dependent to any job or a project. And the last billing method is going to be hourly user rate project. So this we are going to define the rate based upon a project. So when we create a project, here we have the project rate. So if I choose an employee, I have a provision of defining the rate here. Okay. So these are all the 4 methods which helps you to generate a bill. And moreover, whenever we get a client, we will be getting a different amount for that particular project, and we will be hiring an employee on a different amount to work on that particular project. So based upon your requirement, you can define whichever billing method which you need to generate a bill. So now, as we discussed earlier, we have generated a timesheet and the timesheet is also been approved. And now it's time to bill for a client. So I'm going to billing settings, and here I can define the bill generation and I can choose the currency, whatever I want. Once the currency and billing method is chosen, and whenever I generate a bill, I can have a bill number, a prefix, suffix. Say for example, I make ZP001, I click on submit, and now I go to reports, billing, I click on generate bill. So here I'm selecting the client and I chose this month. And here you can see approved status. Whether you want to bill a client for approved log, which is approved by the reporting manager, or you want to bill a client for the unapproved logs. And once I click on next, here you can see the 9 hours, 98 minutes, which is being worked, and the rate per hour, everything. So right now it shows the rate per hour is 0 because we haven't defined the client billing method. So I'm getting back to the client. So this is the client which I created, Zoho Inspire. I edit the same and I can choose any one method. So for time being, I'll just choose hourly user rate, and then I'll quickly refresh once. And then I'm getting back to billing, generate bill, select the client, click on next. So now you can see rate per hour is fetched as 100, and you can see this is the amount which is billed to the client. And once I click on submit, a bill gets generated, and also you can see the bill number is auto generated. and I click on submit. So now a bill is generated, and now I can email this bill to the client. So you can see ZP1, and I have a mail option where I can email this bill to the client, and you can see the bill is being PDF. It is attached along with the bill. So these are all the primal attributes of TimeTracker. So these 5 things are interrelated to each other. And now we are going to discuss on integration. So the timesheet management is integrated with various projects of Zoho. The first thing is Zoho CRM. Hope you're all aware of it. And then Zoho Project, Zoho Books and Invoice, Zoho Expense, and the third-party application QuickBooks. So Zoho CRM will help you to fetch information such as client. So I'm taking back to the same place, client creation. And we told you like 2 methods we are creating a client. One is we are adding one by one, or we're going to click on this import to import an Excel file. So the third method is import from Zoho CRM. So once I click on import from Zoho CRM, I have the classification CRM leads, accounts, contact, and deals, and I can choose whichever I want, and I can click on this button. So that client will get imported. So whichever client it is imported from Zoho CRM will have this symbol. So to integrate Zoho CRM, it is very simple in Zoho people, because these applications are pre-integrated. So we're gonna enable this integration in a click of a button. So I'm going to go to settings, integration, Zoho, and then we have Zoho CRM. And once I click on view detail, I will have an option called enable. And since I already enable it, it gives me an option to disable. So once I click on enable, it will ask me to choose the CRM account. As you can see here, I have chosen the CRM account. So once the CRM account is chosen, you will have the option called import from CRM, so that you can fetch these information called leads, contact, accounts, and deals, which is available in Zoho CRM. And currently, we don't have auto sync. So whenever a lead or account or contact is created in Zoho CRM, we have to import it manually from Zoho people. But however, we are working on this to be automated in nearby future. And then we have projects. So even I told you projects can be added one by one, or you can add it based upon department, or you can add it based upon division if you use org structure. So hope you know that in the first session, we had a concept of org structure, which involves legal entity, business unit, division, department, subdivision. So if you use org structure, then you can also import a job based upon division. And now to integrate Zoho project, the same procedure. I'm going to settings integration, and Zoho project is also can be enabled in a click of a button. So once I click on view detail, I will have an option to enable it, and I'm going to choose the project portal, and I can enable it. So once I enable this, we have given 2 options here, and this is going to be an exquisite option that reduces your effort. So you can see the first option, import project, task, and time log from Zoho project automatically. So the moment Zoho project is integrated, whatever projects we have, whatever jobs we have, and the time logs will be pushed automatically to Zoho in a minute. And once it is being pushed, maybe like say for example at 6 o'clock, you're gonna perform this integration. So whatever data you have in Zoho project will get pushed instantly. And maybe like around 8 o'clock, you're gonna create another project, another job. In that case, it is not necessary for you to sync it manually. Every night, 12 o'clock, we will run a scheduler and we will push the data. So as of now, the scheduler time is fixed. So it runs at night 12. And we have a plan of giving you an option to define the scheduler runtime as per your business need, which will also soon available in the future. And then we have push time log entries automatically when timesheet is approved. So this is the timesheet which we have in Zoho. So if we look at the first scenario, one employee timesheet has been approved. So I can push the approved time log from Zoho people to Zoho project. So this is going to be a two-way sync where I can get information from projects, and also I can send information from people to project. So if I go to this project place, I have an option called import from project. So I can choose the project and I can perform an import. So this is a manual method we have it so that you can do it. Or like we also have the automation. So once you enable this button, things will be automated. And third, we have Zoho Invoice and Books. So these are going to be one single application. The difference is the basic version we call it as Zoho Invoice, and the advanced version is called as Zoho Books. So we can integrate any of those. So the purpose of this application is once a time log is approved in Zoho People, if you want to build a client extensively, then you can use Zoho Books. So Zoho Books is a billing software. So approved time log will get pushed, and even this approved concept we have it as automated. So this is not a manual way to push it. Once a time log is approved, it will be pushed automatically to Zoho Books, and we also have a manual method to push it from the integration part. So if you get into timesheet, my timesheet, and you can see this timesheet is approved because only approved time logs can be pushed. So I click on this timesheet, and here I have an option called push to Zoho Books. So I can use this option to push it, or else I can go to reports, integration report, and I can choose Zoho Books, and even from here I can push this. And when we are speaking about Zoho project, I can choose Zoho project. I can also push it to Zoho project. So currently I have made this automated. So every timesheet has been pushed to Zoho projects and Zoho books automatically. So we have manual option as well as automatic option. So as per your business need, you can use any one of those. And then the very last integration is going to be Zoho expense. So Zoho expense, we are not fetching any information from Zoho expense. Only Zoho expense are fetching information from Zoho people. So we don't have an option of integrating here. So to integrate this part, we have to get into Zoho expense. So I have Zoho expense logged in already. So I can click on settings, integration, and then I can choose the application Zoho people. And here I can click on show detail, and I can perform this integration. So here you can see I can fetch user from Zoho people. So whenever a user is added in Zoho people, it will get synced automatically. Whenever a department or a client or a project is added, it will get synced automatically, so that sorry so that you can use more effectively like Zoho books to generate and for your expense management. And then the very last integration, it's going to be QuickBooks, which is a third party application. Here we have QuickBooks. So if you have a QuickBooks account, you can also integrate with Zoho people. So the difference is very simple. QuickBooks and Zoho books are similar product where it is used to generate a bill. So if you're a Zoho customer, you can use Zoho books. If you have a QuickBooks application, you can also integrate QuickBooks with timesheet module. So this is all about integration. And now we are going to discuss on advanced settings and automation. So when I say advanced setting, it's nothing but the access which is given to user, reporting manager, or a project manager can be controlled in usage of TimeTracker module. So I'll just quickly open the view here. So here you can see settings at very bottom. So once I click on setting, general setting. So this general setting has bunch of control where you can enable it in a click of a button. So here you can see time log view. So it's set to daily. So if you see this view, it shows only today. And if you need, you can also choose weekly. So by default, this time log view will show a week of data. So whenever you submit a time log for this particular week, so May 3rd to May 9th, whatever time log is submitted, irrespective of job and project, it will get listed here and you can submit as a timesheet. And then time log type, whether I want to allow employees to submit manual time log, or I'm going to prefer start and stop time log, which we already discussed. This is start and stop, and this is the manual method of submitting the time log. And then timer edit permission. So once a time log is submitted, If you want to give an access for employee to edit the time log, you can also give a permission. And moreover, we recommend not to give access for an employee, because if it is editable, then even if employee doesn't work, they can edit the time log and they can submit like they have worked. So you can always make this restricted to reporting manager or the admin, who will be monitoring the employee whether they really worked or not. Then we have show time log location. If this is enabled, whenever a time log is created, the location will get captured. And then we have restrict time log based on estimated hours. Hope you remember we have created a job called development, and we have assigned 6 employees to that particular job, and I have given 10 hours as estimated time for each of them. So if 6 employees going to work, it is going to be 60 hours. But if you look at one individual, it is going to be 10 hours. So if I enable this option, employees would be able to submit time log only for 10 hours and not more than that. If they try to submit a time log beyond 10 hours, system will throw an error right away. And then we have minimal billable log hours per day and per week. And imagine like you have the working hours like 6 hours, or like some countries will have 8 hours. So based upon your country policy, you can define it here. So if I choose per day 8 hours, then I won't be able to submit a time log more than 8 hours in a day. So I can restrict it based upon like per day, or I can go with per week, say for example 40 hours, 8 hours in a day. And if needed, I can also allow overtime. So if I work more than the permitted time, that will be considered as an overtime, and also we can pay employees accordingly. And then we have restrict time block within attendance hours. So hope you remember you had a previous session on attendance management, where employee works on a particular interval of time. Say for example, if you work 7 hours in a day, then if this option is enabled, I would be able to submit a time log only for 7 hours. So based upon number of hours I physically present in the office, I can submit a time log accordingly. So these two are correspondent to each other. And then we have restrict time blocks. So if needed, I can enable this. So if I enable future dates, I cannot submit time block for future date. I can submit only for current date and the past date. And then weekends, holidays, unpaid leave, paid leave, I can enable this option. So if it is a weekend or a holiday, or if I applied a leave, then I cannot submit a time block on that particular day. Then we have restrict time log entries. You can see time log date is not within the job start date and end date. So in our use case, we have created a job with job start date May 6th and end date is May 31st. So if I want to submit a time log, I would be able to submit only with this interval of time. So after May 31st, I won't be able to submit it. So if you want to have a restriction, and if you want to force an employee to complete the job within the stipulated timeline, then you can enable this particular option. And then we have present date is not within the start and end date. And imagine now we are in month of June, and if we try to submit a time block, it is not in the present date between the job start and end date, because job start date is May 6th and end date is 31st. And then we have time lag overlap. So initially I told you, if I work on a particular job, say for example 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., I cannot work on another job at the same time. And if you want employees to work like multitask at the same time, you can use this option. So if you click on allow, I can work on two different jobs at the same time. If you choose the second option, we will show a warning message saying that we already have a time block for this particular interval of time. If you'd like to go ahead, you can click on submit. And third option, we're going to completely restrict it. And then default billing status, I can define it here whether it is billable or non-billable. If I choose billable or if I choose non-billable, then it will reflect here as billable or non-billable. But however, we are going to define it in job itself. And then default work item. So whatever work item which I define here, it will get listed in this place. So I can choose the work item as per my requirement. Or if I leave it empty, then I can type my work item at the time of submitting a time log. Then we have timesheet. So once a time log is being created, I'm supposed to submit a timesheet maybe daily or weekly, or even I can submit a timesheet by end of a month. So this is the place where we can define who is the person should create a timesheet. So we have three options basically: self, reporting manager, and admin. So based upon your need, you can choose it. Then we have time log without client. So if you do not have a client, which means that that particular job is not billable one. So if it is not a billable one, then it is not good to have it in a timesheet. So if this is enabled, whichever job doesn't have a client, that particular entry or data will not be visible in the timesheet. Then here we have include time logs, so billable or non-billable. If we choose billable, only billable time logs will be available. And if you choose non-billable, only non-billable will be available. Then you can see rate per hours. So rate per hour is very interesting part, because some companies, they will not disclose the rate per hour for an employee in the timesheet, because they might be getting a different amount from the client, and they might be paying a different amount to the user. So if you want to hide, or if you don't want to disclose the rate, we have an option here. So currently I haven't used it. So if I click on the timesheet, the user will come to know that he has worked so and so hours. Give me a minute. So I'll choose Alice. So this person has worked on a particular job, and timesheet is submitted. So here you can see he has worked for around 10 hours. He is getting paid for 100 USD for 1 hour, and he is about to get $1,000 since he worked for around 10 hours. So if you want to hide this total amount and this rate per hour, you can use this option. So rate per hour, I can remove it for employee, I can remove it for approver, or for reporting manager. So only the higher management people will come to know what is the rate, and these people will not come to know what is the rate. And then we have approver editing the time log. So once a timesheet is submitted, we also given an option for approver to modify the time entry. So here you can see the time log is 5 hours and 9 hours. If I enable that option, approver can also modify this number of hours worked against each job. And then we have push timer entries to attendance. So when Meghna was explaining you about the attendance management, she would have told you you can mark your check-in and check-out in multiple ways. One is you can do web check-in, web check-out, and then we have mobile where you can check in and check out. And third, if you have a biometric device like access card, you can integrate your biometric device with Zoho so that you can perform your check-in and check-out. And the very fourth way is push timer entries to attendance. So if this option is enabled, whenever I start a timer and whenever I stop a timer, that will push as a check-in and check-out to the attendance module, so that you can also fetch a report in attendance module, like when employee started his work and when employee has completed his work for a particular day, and so that you can also fetch a report how many hours employee has worked in a day and how many hours employees has worked in a week or a month. And then we have job schedule. So job schedule is once a job is assigned, it is not mandatory for an employee to work only on a particular job. Imagine we have a project and we have 5 jobs, and I, as an employee, I've been associated to all 5 jobs. So it's my wish where I can work on that 5 job at any point of time in a day, because my work hours is 8 hours. So I can work, I can spend my time at any given point of time. But if the management wants to schedule, say for example, employee wants to work on job A between 9 to 10, an employee wants to work on job B between 11 to 12, I can use job schedule. So here, if I go to job schedule, I can click on the employee. So I can see Nicole. I can choose the client. I can choose a project, and I can choose a job. So once that is selected, I can choose a time and I can make an employee. So you can see like 4:46 to 5:46. So I will insist an employee to work on this particular job. So employee will get an email notification so that they can work on this particular job. And I can also repeat this pattern daily, weekly, and monthly. So when we say email notification, we have two types of notification here. So go to general setting again. So here you can see email notification. So you will get in your email. Another one is feed notification, which you get in this bell icon. So when you get notification in this bell icon, you will also get notification in your cell phone as well, provided you need to install Zoho People mobile app in your cell phone. Then the last setting is going to be enable password protection. So as I told you, we have a lot of reports available in Zoho. So whenever we export a report, we will send the password to the person who has exported. So he can use the password to get the report. So this is all about general setting where we have bundle of control, which you can enable it and disable it. And then we have user specific setting. So whatever setting which we have seen here, that setting is applied for everybody across the organization. And if you want to have some exception, then we can use user specific setting where I can click on add setting. I can choose a particular user and I can define a different set of restriction here. All right. And then we have approval setting where we have configured the timesheet approval. Then we have scheduler setting. This is the place where we're going to automate things. So scheduler thing is, imagine I as an employee, I'm working between Monday to Friday, and my management insisted me to submit a timesheet by end of Friday. But unfortunately, I forget to submit a timesheet. So if I do not submit a timesheet, then there will not be a pay for me. So to avoid such burden, we can automate the system to submit the timesheet on behalf of an employee. So I can go to scheduler system, add schedule, and I can choose the frequency daily, monthly, or a weekly. So this case, I choose weekly, and I can choose Friday, and I can set the time, maybe end of business hours, 6 p.m. And I can make this billable or non-billable. So only that particular time log will be submitted. And I can make this applicable. Say, for example, I want to choose user. I have selected all the user. So once I click on save, if I have a time log for a week, by end of every Friday at 5 o'clock, timesheet will get submitted automatically. Once a timesheet is submitted, approval will get triggered. And if I do not have a time log, then timesheet will not get created. And then we have reminder setting. So the base for timesheet is we need to have a time log. So if we do not have a time log, then there is no purpose of having a timesheet. And also we cannot create a timesheet because system will throw an error that we do not have sufficient time log to generate a timesheet. So to avoid such circumstance, I can add a reminder. So you can see type is time log daily, and maybe like I can set around 5 o'clock, end of business hours. So I'll get a reminder if I haven't submit a timesheet. So we have two type of notification. One is not log time. So I came to work, but I forget to submit time log. Second one is I supposed to work for 8 hours, but I have only 6 hours. In that case, I can also generate a reminder because I'm supposed to work 8 hours in a day as per the law, or like 6 hours in a day. So this time you can modify as per your requirement. And then you can also notify through employee, reporting manager, and specific user where you can pick it here. So these three people will get an email notification as well as this bell icon feed notification. And currently this is a system based email, so it is not open to customization. So system itself will send a predefined template available. So this reminder can be done for time log as well as for timesheet. So if I not submit a timesheet, even at that case, I will get a reminder. If I not submit a time log, even at that case, I'll get a reminder. So the automation part will help you to automate your daily activity in this particular module. So when we spoke about automation, we have one more thing which is called report scheduler. So if I go to automation, scheduler, report scheduler, add report scheduler. The purpose of scheduler is every day we have a time log, every week we have a timesheet. So that will be hard for the management or a project manager to go and fetch the report logging to Zoho people each and every time when it is going to be a regular exercise. So to avoid that practice, we can automate this. So I can send the report automatically via email. So I can choose a name and I can choose a start and end date, say for example, May 6th, and I can define the time. Frequency, I can choose it weekly. So every week by end of Friday, system will send a report and I can choose the time zone accordingly. Then here you see report mapping. So here I can click on time tracker, which is the timesheet module, and I can choose the report accordingly. So here we have weekly time log and project report, job report, then we have client report. So I can use these four reports or any report as per your requirement. And also I can choose the format, whether I need to get PDF or XLS or CSV. And then here you can choose the two recipients, CC, subject, and also you can customize this email template accordingly. So every week, as per this configuration, reports will get auto scheduled and it will be sent via email to the person whom we are going to define here. And then we have payroll setting. Here we define the rate per employee, as you can see, like per rate, OT, and extended OT. Then we have billing settings. Here we have defined the bill number and the currency, and then bulk log customization. This is also very interesting feature, and we got a good response from a lot of our clients and partners. The thing is, some organization will prefer submitting time log on daily basis, and some people will go for a weekly basis. So if it is going to be a weekly basis, it will be really hard for me to click on log time again and again for the entire week. So to avoid this, I can click on this arrow. Here we have weekly log. So I can click on weekly log. In one single shot, I can fill the time log for the entire week. If needed, I can also click on add row. So I will get the number of hours against a day and also against the week. And I can also click on save and I can submit this. So this is about weekly log customization. So by default, we have client, projects, and job, and whichever it is not required, you can disable this. If you enable client, then in this particular page, right now we have only projects and job. If I enable that, I will also have an option to choose client in this particular bulk log customization page. So here you can see client name is also appended. And now pay period setting. This is similar to leave and attendance, like how we have a pay period. Similarly, we can create a pay period, so reports will get generated automatically. Then we have IP restriction and geo restriction. This is completely similar to the leave and attendance module, which we discussed in the last session. So if you have a static public IP, you can define the range. And once that range is defined from IP to IP, you can define the module time tracker, for example, and you can choose the applicable location, say, for example, New York. So the New York employee would be able to submit or would be able to use the time tracker module only if their devices, laptop, and cell phones are connected to this particular IP. So this is one method to have an extra restriction. And then we have geo restriction, where I can define a boundary. So if employees are within this boundary, only then they can access this particular module. So I'm using a geometrical shape and I'm going to just drag it. So if employees are within this circle or within this boundary, they can access time tracker module. If they are away from this boundary, they cannot access this time tracker module. The reason why we have a lot of restriction here is, since this module helps you to pay the employee, so you need to have, or you need to know whether employee is physically present or not to get paid. So in a good use case, you can define this boundary across your company. So if employees are within the premises, they can log a time, they can access time tracker module. If they are outside the premises, then they will not have the access, which is if they are not physically present inside the premises, then they cannot submit a time log. So this is all about the advanced settings, where we're gonna have n number of restriction and automation to make things simple. And now we're going to discuss about dashboard and report. As I already said, this is going to be one unified platform where you can get all the data in one single window. And this project dashboard will be very efficient for project managers to track the project status. So imagine in this case, you are a project manager, because we have created a project and we have created two jobs, and employees have also submitted the timesheet. And now, as a project manager, if you want to track the project status, you can get into projects and you can see the project which we created is Zoho Inspire event. So once I click on that project, the project dashboard will get open. So here, the first thing, we have a description. So you can have a detailed description what the project is all about. So the project members can see the project description. Then we have estimated hours versus logged hours. So here you can see estimated hours is 90. And how it is getting computed is we have two jobs, hope you have remember. One is development, other one is designing. So in development and designing, we have 6 employees. So in development, everyone's supposed to work 10 hours, and in designing, everyone's supposed to work 5 hours. So 10 into 6, we have 60, and then we have 5 hours. So 5 into 6, we have 30. So 60 plus 30, we get estimated hours is 90. So this dashboard is purely based on project, not based on job. That's the reason we have estimated hour as 90, because this one single project has two job. One job has a cumulative estimated hours of 60, another has cumulative hour of 30. So 90 plus 60, we have, sorry, 50 plus 60 plus 30, we have 90. And then we have logged hours. Here you can see 9 hours 59 minutes is only logged with the employee Alice. And then we have billable and non-billable differentiation. So 9 hours 15 minutes billable is done and non-billable is 0. And then we have billed versus non-billed. So here you can see I have total of 9 hours 59 minutes. And if I want to know whether it is billed to client or not, if it is under bill, it is being billed to client. As you know, we have already generated a bill and we have sent it to a client. So the first three widget will give a detailed information what's the project status. So first widget will give the estimated hours and logged hours. Second widget will give you the billable and non-billable differentiation. And third widget will tell you whether that particular timesheet is billed to client or not billed to client. Then fourth, we have project, I mean like in process versus completed job. So right now this project has two jobs and both the job is in progress, which is not yet completed. So if you want to complete this job, we have access to make this job completed for 3 people. One is we can give an access for employee. So once he completed those 10 hours, he can make that job as completed. Secondly, we can give the access to the reporting manager. And thirdly, we can give this access to the project manager. And however, admin has a global access, so admin can perform this action at any time. So now I have two job, development and designing. Say for example, I click on development as job completed. So I can simply click on this tick mark to make this project as, I mean, to make this job as completed. So now let us do a quick refresh. So now you can see one in progress and one will be in completed because this project has two jobs. Okay. And then we have job estimated hours, logged hours. So you can see estimated hours is 60 for development, but only 9 hours is completed. And for designing is 30 and 0 hours is logged. An overdue job. So when we created a job, we have defined the time start date as 6th of May and end date as 30th of May. So if the job is not completed even after 30th of May, then those jobs will get listed here. So the project manager can easily identify which are all jobs are in pending status. Then we have user job status. So this will show the overdue, progress, and completed. So we have completed one job and in progress one job. So against these user, it shows one in complete and one in progress. Then we have top 5 active job. This will show whichever job has more number of logs. So imagine you have a project and you have 10 jobs under one project. And out of that 10 job, only 5 job has more number of time log. In that case, we will list those 5 job which has more number of logs. Then we have user estimated versus log. So here you can see 15 hours against Alice. So 15 hours is we have two jobs under one project. One job is 10 hours, other job is 5 hours. So we have 15 as estimated and Alice has completed 9 hours. And then we have top 5 contributor. So this will show the list of employee who have the most higher time log submitted. So in our case, we have submitted only Alice for 9 hours. So people, those who have more number of time log, the top 5 will get listed here. Similarly, we have the least 5 contributors. And then we have top 5 BCBs. This will show the number of job completed by an individual user. So the same use case, we have one project and 10 jobs. And out of 10 jobs, imagine there are few employee have completed all the 10 jobs. So there is a differentiation between employee those who have completed and employee those who are still working on it. So this top five will show the top five people who has completed the job in this particular project. And then we have weekly report, and weekly report widget will help you to see number of hours logged in this particular week. So this week we have logged 9 hours, as you can see here. So this project dashboard will give you extensive information in one single window. By just scrolling up and down, the project manager will come to know what is the status, and the project manager can act proactively, and he can have a status up to date by just visiting this project dashboard. Then we have feeds. So if employees want to interact each other within this project, you can use feeds. So I can simply use at symbol, and I can type the employee name, and I can interact with that particular person, and I can click on post. Then we have jobs. So maybe in future, if you have if you want to add any other job extra, then it is not required for you to follow the big step like go to projects and job, click on job. Instead, you can simply click on add job, so that this particular job will get associated to the project. And then we have user. If you want to associate a user to a project, you can do it. Then we have an attachment. So if you want to upload any document or any blueprint regarding this project, you can also do the same. So this is all about project dashboard. And on top of it, we have another dashboard which we call centralized dashboard. If I click on home, here we have another dashboard. This will be more effective for employees and the reporting managers or the approvers to approve the logs. So here you can see request for approval. So whichever approval is pending, I can approve it. This is not only meant for timesheet module. This is applicable for leave, attendance, timesheet, whatever it is pending for approval. I can simply click on that particular record and I can approve and reject. Then we have time log. So this will tell you the time log which I have on day-to-day basis. So if you click on the previous day or the current day, it will show the log. So you can see on 4th of May, I have a time log for 3 hours. Then we have timesheet, whichever is submitted. Then we have the pending job. So even from this place, employee can update their job as completed. And then here you can see the billable and non-billable hours based upon the job which I work. So this dashboard will give you uh, a quick overview what is my current status. If you want to have an extensive detail, then you can go with the project dashboard. So that's what it's going to be: project dashboard and standard reports, and build custom reports via analytics and extract reports in single click. So far we have seen only project dashboard, and now we will discuss on reports as well. So if I go to timesheet, I have n number of reports available. So as a project manager or an administrative perspective, if you want to fetch the data to know how many hours employees has worked, I can go to time log, and I can fetch the time log report here. So give me 1 minute, let me refresh. So here you can see, if I choose for all user, you can see employees Christine, Albert, and you can see the project which they have worked and the job and the number of hours which they have worked. So this will give you a collective information on how many hours they worked on each and every day, and also the total number of hours which they worked, as you can see. And I can also extract this report in a click of a button. I click on this ellipsis icon, I can click on export. So I'll get the data in Excel. So time log report will fetch the data like how many hours I worked on any job or any project. Then job report. So this report will give the detail job specific. So as you can see here, we have created 2 jobs. One is development, other one is designing. Say for example, if I choose the job development, or any job which I choose, it will show the hours. So estimated is 45, and out of which we have completed 42. So if you want to if you want to get a report based upon job, you can use job report. Then we have project report. If you want to get it based upon project, you can get it. So you can see client inspire, Zoho Inspire event is a project, estimated is 50, and you can see the number of hours it has been worked. Then we have user report. If you want to get the data user specific, so I don't want to have project based or job based or time block based, and I need a standalone report which gives the number of hours employee has worked. To do that, you can use user report that will give you user specific billable hours and non-billable hours. And also you can filter this report based upon your need. So you can see like lesser than 5 hours, I can fetch a report. Or if I want greater than 10 hours, I can fetch a report. Or I can also fetch a report people, those who haven't submitted the time log. So here you can see include employees without time log. If I enable this option, this will show the list of users who haven't submitted the time log. So here you can see billable is 0. And then we have scheduled versus work. So when we discuss on job scheduling, if I make an employee to work between 10 to 11, if an employee really worked, then it will show under log. If employee haven't worked, it will show under deviation. So if it shows under deviation, it means employee haven't worked on that particular interval of time. Then we have payroll report. So this payroll report will get generated based upon the amount or the pay which I defined. So if you look at Alice, the employee, we have defined 100 USD. So here you can see employee has worked 9 hours 59 minutes. So 100 USD amount is being getting generated. Then we have billings. So billing help you to generate a bill as we discussed already. Then we have client report. This will give you the information client specific. So here we have the client inspire. You can see the billable hours. And then we have integration report. So integration report will have the access of Zoho books and Zoho project where you can push the time lock. At the same time, we can make this automated in the integration page. So every data will get synced automatically. And finally, we have analytics. So this is the most interesting part. Though we have n number of reports and dashboard available, we are not forcing our customers to use that particular reports or the data. So the purpose of analytics is you can generate a report as per your requirement. So I can go to analytics, click on create, and I can select the report type, say for example, pivot, and imagine I'm going to choose time log. And here I can build a report as per my company policy. So I can have a project, I can have a job, I can have a work item. So it is going to be just drag and drop. If I want to have in a tabular way, I can place it under row. If I want to have approval status, I can drag and drop it. If I want to have a filter, say for example, I want to filter it based upon billable and non-billable, I can place this under filter. And then if I want to have an approval status, whether it is approved or not approved, I can use this approval status. So once I click on generate graph, this will give you the data here. You can see project, work item, approved status. It shows like drafted, not submitted, pending, rejected. So using this filter, I can also filter the data here. And once I click on save, this report will get saved. And any point of time, I can use this report and I can also edit this report. So how do we stand out? Because every other product or every other application has time tracker or timesheet management. So how does Zoho stands out when we compare with the other market partners? So here you can see bundle control. It's nothing but we have bunch of controls where we can enable it and disable it in a click of a button, so we can restrict the access of this particular module. Then we have scheduling your activity, so we can send reminders on time log, timesheet, and we can also make the system to submit the time log and timesheet automatically. Then we have extensive report. As you can see, we have a lot of reports available, lot of dashboards available. On top of it, we also given you analytics where you can build your own reports with the data available here. Then we have tightly coupled with other Zoho product. Like if you are a customer of Zoho CRM, Zoho project, books, invoice, expense, you can integrate the same so where you can fit your entire business in one single window. Then we also support third party integration, for example, which we discussed, QuickBooks. So these are all the five attributes where Zoho stands extensively good when we compare to the other people. And now we're going to discuss on the top new feature which is recently launched in the month of March and April. At the time of lockdown, this feature has been launched. So I hope many of us would have not been known of these feature. So time tracker, I mean like timesheet UI has been revamped. If you are an existing customer of timesheet, then you can see the difference between the old UI and the new UI, and the display rate per hour. So the rate per hour in the timesheet, which denotes as you supposed to pay 1000 USD, and you can define it whether it has to be visible for employee or not visible for employee. This option we have given recently. And then inclusion of leave and holiday detail in timesheet. So if you applied a leave or an holiday, that will be also appended in the timesheet. So that will be easier for the approver to keep track things. Then settings for time entries, overlap, warning, and restriction. This we have seen. If you want to submit a time block in a same interval of time, where we can define the setting, whether we can allow or restrict. Then approver can modify time block during approval. So at the time of approval, approver can also modify it if that particular option is enabled. And finally, we have restrict time block based on job start date and end date. So in our use case, the job start date is May 5th and end date is May 31st. If you want to make employee to lock time only within this interval of time, I can enable this option, or I can make this more flexible. I can make my employees work anytime. I can just simply disable that option. So these are the top five feature which is recently launched. And then if we have a quick click on a roadmap, we have enhancement in report. Though we have extensive reports available, we are also plan to give some enhancement which will be available soon. Then we plan to have activity log for time tracker. So whatever activities or changes, modification, addition, deletion, whichever you did, it will be tracked in the system. And then common calendar for time tracker and attendance. Right now we have two different calendar which I'll show you. So if I go to timesheet, I have a calendar view. This will show the time block. You can see job ABC 3 hours, and also you can see the public holidays, and you can see the sick leave, annual leave which I applied. So for every module we have a calendar. For time tracker we have a calendar. For attendance we have a calendar. For leave we have a calendar. And now we have planned to have one consolidate common calendar between time tracker and attendance. Then we are planned to have common dashboard for time tracker and attendance. So it will be very easy for the management or the project manager to keep track of things in one window rather depending on multiple reports and multiple dashboards. So that's all about time tracker. And now we came to the end of the session. And thanks for your time and interest. And I trust the session was helpful today. And also our team of experts would have also addressed your queries at the time of presentation. And once again, thanks everyone, and feel free to share your feedback. So we shall certainly work on the same to serve you better. So let's have a short break for 15 minutes. After we resume, we have an extensive Q&A session with my colleague Justin on the topics which is covered on day one training. Thank you. Bye-bye.